The year is 12,000s. Europe is starving. Hunger, war, and poverty spread like plague. And just below them, on a continent the world refused to talk about, a storm was forming. One boy, born crippled, mocked, and hunted, would rise to build an empire richer than all of Europe combined. This is the story of the Mali Empire, how it rose from prophecy, reshaped Africa, and how its own greatness planted the seeds of its destruction. In the early 12,000s, a king named Maghan Kunfata of the Mandika people never had peace. He was on the edge of collapsing, as many of his neighboring tribes tried to engage a war with his people for their fertile land. But as this chaos proceeded, a prophecy was made by a famous hunter known as Susaya. He told the king, "You will marry a woman who walks with kings, and she will give birth to a powerful king." And so happens. King Maghan married a hunchback lady known as Queen Sogolon. She was popularly known by her ugly appearance and being very spiritually powerful. And to make things worse, they gave birth to a crippled son known as Sundiata Keita in 1217. Sundiata had a very terrible childhood. Aside from him being crippled and his mom being a hunchback, he also had other siblings from his dad, King Maghan, other wives, which made life even tougher for him. Sundiata's father died when he was still young. A rival queen, Sosoma Berite, wanted her own son to rule. She publicly humiliated Sundiata and his mother, saying, "How can a child who cannot stand become a king?" This caused a lot of pain for Sundiata and his mother, and just at the age of 7, after years of being mocked, Sundiata demanded a heavy iron rod to hold for him to stand. With great effort, he pulled himself up, bending the iron rod into a bow, and walked for the first time. This moment shook the entire kingdom, and it marked the beginning of his strength and destiny. And as the rival queen was watching all this, she was sensing a threat. She tried so hard to make life tough for Sundiata and his mom. Finally, she threatened their lives, and Sundiata with his family fled the kingdom. They traveled across West Africa, living as refugees in kingdoms like Ouagadougou, Mema Kingdom, and Walu. And during his exile, Sundiata learned warfare, leadership, diplomacy, and the politics of West Africa. And by his late teen, he was already a respected warrior prince in Mema. Meanwhile, back home, the Mandika kingdom were suffering. After years of instability by the Mandika people, the Soso tribe king, Sumanguru Kante, a neighboring tribe closer to the Mandika, conquered Mandika land. Sumanguru was feared like a monster. He banned music, killed rival kings, forced kingdoms to pay harsh taxes, and ruled with cruelty and black magic. The Mandika people were indeed desperate for a savior, and as all hope were fading, they remembered the prophecy: Sundiata will return to free his people. So they sent messengers across the desert to find him. The messengers traveled across deserts in search of their savior and finally found him. And unlike other people who would ignore them for what they have done to him or her, Sundiata actually answered their call. With the help of the Mema king, he gathered an army of cavalry, archers, warriors from different kingdoms, blacksmiths, hunters, and some loyal Mandika fighters. Sundiata launched a liberation war across the entire West Africa. The final battle took place at Karina in 1235, when Sundiata was only 18 years old. The battle was between Sundiata and Sumanguru. The ground shook with thousands of warriors. Arrows darkened the sky. Horses charged through dust. Hunters played their war horns. Women sang ancient Mandika songs. Sumanguru wasn't an easy match for Sundiata. He was very spiritually powerful aside from being a giantly strong man. Any arrow that approached him turns to ashes, until it was Sundiata's time to fire his arrow. With a smirk on Sundiata's face, he fired his arrow and Sumanguru didn't believe his eyes. The arrow went on to pierce his shoulder. He got so frightened for his life that he fled with his remaining soldiers into the Kolikoro mountain and never to be seen again. Sundiata emerged victorious, and this day is considered the official birth of the Mali Empire. The chief crowned him Mansa, meaning the king of kings. He transformed a region of small divided kingdoms into one of the largest and richest empires on earth. Finally, he created the Keita dynasty, and after his death, the regime continued through his brothers, sons, and relatives, one of them being Mansa Abubakar II. King Abubakar ruled the Mali Empire for some time and eventually chose to explore over the Atlantic Ocean. While leaving, he chose Mansa Musa as his deputy ruler before leaving. King Abubakar sailed west and never returned again, and so the most richest man to ever walk on this earth rise to power. He was strong, powerful, a good leader, and generous, and through his generosity came the downfall of the Mali Empire.
The year is 1325, and the world is about to hear the name Mali for the very first time. Mansa Musa, now the ruler of the greatest empire in Africa, decided to make a pilgrimage to Mecca, a journey every Muslim dreams about. But Mansa Musa wasn't going to do it as an ordinary man. He was going as the richest human being to ever walk on this earth. He gathered a caravan so massive that it became a legend. 60,000 men, each holding a bag of gold and diamonds. 12,000 royal servants, 100 camels, each camel carrying 136 kilograms of pure gold. Musicians, soldiers, cooks, and grots. Even entire herds of animals for food. When he set his foot into the Sahara, the desert itself glitters from the gold dust falling from his caravan. As Mansa Musa passed through cities like Walata, Taut, and finally Cairo of Egypt, something unexpected happened. He gave so much gold to the villagers of the village he travels through, to the extent that he broke the economy. He donated gold to the poor, built mosques, gifted gold to rulers, paid workers in gold, bought goods at ridiculously high prices, and suddenly the price of gold collapsed. Egypt went into 10 years inflation crisis because of gold lost its value. Historian says Mansa Musa caused the first recorded economic inflation in the world history. His name spread across North Africa, Arabia, and Europe like wildfire. For the first time ever, Europeans added a sub-Saharan African kingdom to their maps, and they placed Mansa Musa wearing a golden crown and holding a golden orb onto their target lists. Mali was now famous, but that fame came with a price. The world had seen Mali's worth, and now they wanted a piece of it. Arab traders, North African sultans, European explorers, and later white colonial powers all became obsessed with the land of gold. And as Mansa returned home, proudly expanded cities like Timbuktu and Gao, building universities and libraries, he didn't know one thing: the seeds of Mali's downfall were already planted. Mansa Musa died around 1337. He left behind the richest empire the world had ever seen to his son, Mansa Musa. But unlike Mansa Musa, who was a brilliant emperor who was fearless and brilliant, his successor wasn't. Due to Mansa's lack of discipline, intelligence, and strength, under his regime, gold reserve weakened, taxes dropped, external enemies grew bolder, and the smaller kingdoms started to separate themselves. And among these smaller kingdoms was the Songhai kingdom, and they would cause the end to the Mali Empire. For years, the Songhai kingdom paid taxes to Mali, but inside, they burned with resentment. As Mali weakens after Mansa Musa's death, Songhai made their move. Under the leadership of Sunni Ali, the Songhai armies rebelled, conquered surrounding lands, and seized control of the Niger River, Timbuktu and Gao, two of the Mali's greatest economic engines, were now under threat. Mali tried to fight back, but their armies were no longer the unstoppable forces of Sundiata's era. And to make matters worse, the royal family began fighting each other. Generals rebelled, brothers killed each other for the throne. The empire that once united West Africa was now slowly tearing itself into pieces. Finally, the Moroccan invasion of 1591, using guns and cannons, crushed the last remaining power in West Africa, including Songhai. The story of Mali reminds us of something powerful. A civilization can shine brighter than the world believes and still be forgotten if no one tells its story. But here on this channel, their stories will never die again.